execution of the nuclear. That President Trump and all of a sudden built this military. This is a continuation from President Obama, from President Bush, from H.W. Bush, from Reagan. We are the greatest.
Hi, Sue. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Wonderful. All tuned in?
I am. I just raised my sound so I can hear you.
Oh, that's always good.
You're right about that.
Well, I'm due for a new set of hearing aids, I understand, next year, and hopefully I'll be able to even hear better.
Why do you have to wait till next year?
Because that's when the VA determines I need a new one.
Oh, and you can't get them until they say they'll pay
That's
for
right.
it.
That's right.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah, the VA is like being in the military.
Yes, I thought the pictures I saw of all those generals, I thought they looked very nice.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
didn't
see
see
the
any
picture?
pictures. No, I didn't see any of that yet. After our class, I'll tune into some of that.
Okay.
Well, as a product of the Vietnam era, and I think you and I probably are about the same age.
I think you're younger than I am, but yeah, approximately.
Yeah, approximately. That was a big issue at the time, and having lived through it, it made no sense whatsoever. And we unfortunately lost about, I believe, 60,000 nice young people.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm told. Um, yeah, it's a shame, and unfortunately, I'm concerned that we're headed back there.
I hope not.
No, I know.
But
I'm always and I don't want to discuss politics, but I am always amused when I see two men who have never served in the military telling the military how they ought to be doing stuff.
well, you need a mixture of both, especially on the civilian side. But you're right, and that's it's one of those kind of things that uh, when you've been in the military, do you have brothers or anything?
No, I have no brothers. I am an
Oh,
only child.
oh, you are. Okay, so
Yes,
well, our generation, we were always subject to the draft.
yes,
and if we didn't keep our grades up, we'd be drafted within 60 days,
right.
guaranteed. And that had its positives and negatives, but it sure was a great incentive to
Absolutely.
keep your grades up and not get.
I understand that. No, my son, who is 64
Okay.
was too young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the time there was anything else, he was too old.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. He was a tweener. Yeah.
yes, yes, for sure.
Just my grandson is going through the throes of not quite sure what he really wants to do and not quite sure he wants to stay in college. He hasn't really got anything that's really excited him. And I've been talking to him about he wants to get into something related to healthcare. And I would say, you know, what you ought to do is sign up for the Navy, get a scholarship, and the Navy's got the best training in the world. And to go ahead and do that and get some discipline and all of the other things that come with it, because I think those are huge things that we gained from. I know my youngest son certainly did. Who and
How
it's
many children do you have, John?
two boys.
Two
Paul
boys?
Paul, whom I think you probably met.
Yes, I have. I've met him online. I've never met him face to face.
Yeah, and Jeff, both of them. But
And
you know, it's one of
there is
those.
Fred.
What's that?
Yeah.
There is Fred.
Hey guys.
Yeah, there's Fred.
Yeah, here
How
I
are you,
am.
Fred?
Good, good.
Sue and I were just reminiscing about the good old days when we went to school with having to get the draft deferment every year.
Oh, yeah.
Were you in the military, Fred?
Yeah, when I finished my residency, that was during Vietnam, 1970, and they were drafting doctors. So I spent 2 years in the Navy. They sent me to Norfolk, Virginia.
Well, that's a nice posting.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I was lucky. A friend of mine who went in the same time got assigned to and spent 13 months in Vietnam, a place called An Hoa.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Fred, were you
Yeah.
in about the time when they had the hospital ships stationed off the shore of Vietnam?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
That was really something. They would fly by helicopter these guys out right off the battlefield
Hmm.
onto the hospital ships. And boy, that saved a lot of people.
Oh, it did. Yeah, I mean, people who would have died in World War II, were
Yeah.
saved by that kind of system. It was really amazing. In fact, actually, my friend, he was actually the doctor for a Marine battalion in the field, and they saw quite a bit of action, but he
Mhm.
really never got that involved. If somebody was hit, one of the corpsmen would run out and do all the first responder stuff.
Yeah,
They'd put on the splints and the pressure dressings um, and the tourniquets. They give the morphine, start the
sure.
IV, and by that time there was a helicopter there. The evacuation system had gotten
Yeah.
so good, and so he said he actually saw more trauma in Grady Hospital in Atlanta on a Saturday night
Yeah,
than
I'm
he
sure
ever saw
that's
in
true.
Vietnam. Yeah,
I'm sure that's true.
yeah.
You know, I'll tell you a funny, sad story on Grady Hospital. Paul and Jeff were playing racquetball, and Jeff hit himself in the face with his racket and
Mhm.
split his lip down it. We
Mhm.
spent Thanksgiving Day in Grady Hospital. Jeff,
Mhm.
my youngest son, was probably 13 or 14. I think Paul was probably a senior. And it
Mhm.
was the most enlightening 6 or 8 hours we spent because sitting there in the aisles of Grady Hospital,
Uh-huh.
we saw everything.
Yeah,
And it
it was an
wasn't
amazing
pretty.
place. Yeah,
And they kept
yeah.
pushing Jeff back because all he did
Hmm.
was had a split lip.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing how much mayhem went on down there.
Oh,
The funny thing was when I worked there, and yeah, I went to med school at Emory, so we worked
oh,
in the
did you
in the
really?
emergency
Oh,
room.
okay.
Yeah. But, most of the violence was done by people that the guy knew. It's always
Yes.
I was sitting in my porch and my cousin shot me,
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of thing. When
Yeah.
I got to New York, when I was at Bellevue, over there, all the violence, you're mugged by strangers. At Grady, it was family violence.
Well, and uh, I had never seen all the drug overdose stuff and
Mhm,
some of the other kinds of problems. I guess mixing alcohol and drugs or whatever.
mhm.
I still don't know today, but these people would come in and it was unbelievable. It's like they were someplace else. I mean, they were just
Mhm.
like wild
They
people.
were someplace else. They
Yeah,
were physically here, but
you're
mentally
right,
they were
Sue.
someplace else.
Plus the injuries and the stabbings and the car wrecks. I mean, Grady is,
Yeah, it was an incredible place. Yeah.
oh boy. And Jeff, even though his lip hurt so bad and he knocked out a tooth, he was
Mhm.
wide-eyed seeing all this stuff go on.
Yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
that convinced them they didn't want to do that, which would have been a good thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, he learned a lot that day, and he
Yeah.
still talks about it today.
Mhm.
I have
Okay,
a
well, I guess,
question, Fred. Are
yeah,
we going to do class the next 2 weeks because of the holidays?
yeah. Well, actually, Yom Kippur is this Thursday,
Right, I
and
know
so
that. I'm
yeah,
talking about Sukkot and Shavuos.
yeah. Well, Sukkot, yeah, there's a service Tuesday morning, but with no reason we couldn't have class that evening though. We don't have an evening service anyway. We just have a morning service for that.
Okay, and you're not going to go and have pizza in the sukkah as I saw on the in the
Uh,
bulletin?
I don't think so. That's
You
mainly for
don't
the
think so?
kids. No. And then actually the next Tuesday is Simchas Torah. There's a celebration that night. But actually I'm going to be in Charleston seeing my daughter that then. So we won't have a class the Tuesday after next.
Okay, what date is that?
That's like the 14th. That would be
14th?
Tuesday the 14th. Yeah, I won't be here then.
Okay.
How is your daughter, Fred?
She's great. I mean, she's head of her unit now. She's I think, she came to nursing late, but it really is what she was meant to do.
I bet
Named
she's
after
good.
her dad.
Uh-huh.
Now she's in where?
She's working at Roper Hospital in Charleston.
Oh, Charleston. What a great
Yeah,
place to go, Fred.
yeah, yeah.
So you
Good
spend
place to visit.
few days down there?
Well, we're just going down just for a day. We're going to spend the
Oh,
day that night and drive back the next day.
yeah,
It's only like about 3 hour drive down there.
yeah. Yeah, I know when we stayed there, Paul drove down and spent a night with us.
Mhm.
I love Charleston.
It's a beautiful city, but problem is a lot of it's going to be is sinking underwater.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
well, the old part of Charleston, that historic part below Broad Street, as the sea level is rising, those houses are getting, flooded regularly. And, it's a question of how long that area will really be inhabitable unless they build some kind of seawall or levee or something to keep the sea out.
Yeah. That's the area you can walk around the old ha area
Yeah,
right
those are
there on
those
the
old
waterfront.
17th, yeah, those are the 17th and 18th century houses.
Yeah. Oh, that
Yeah,
was
that's old
neat.
Charleston. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
big tourist attraction.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
last time I was there, I took a walking tour of that
Mhm,
part of Charleston with a native Charlestonian, if that's how their name
mhm.
is pronounced, and it was
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's a really beautiful historic city, but again, the historic part is at sea level pretty much right now, and as the
Right.
ocean rises, yeah, they're going to have a lot of trouble.
Do they have big tide changers there?
They do, yeah, I think they do, and I think actually they're trying to take some of those old, wooden houses, if they're 200 or 300 years old, and see if they can somehow raise them,
Relocate
put
them or
put
raise them? Yeah.
yeah, raise them and get a foundation under them. Because wood is not going to stand that kind of flooding on a
Uh-huh.
regular basis.
But it is lovely,
It
Yeah.
is, yeah,
and the
yeah.
food is marvelous.
Yeah, the
Oh
food
yeah,
is
yeah. It's definitely a
fantastic.
foodie place. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're all that's coming tonight. So,
Okay.
um, I saw Chris and Rachel. They came to our, Rosh Hashanah services.
Oh,
They
okay.
were there for that. And the problem is Chris has some job where he's somewhere different every week. He's at different
Oh,
places
really? That's his new
consulting.
job?
Yeah. In fact, I think he was doing something in Brunswick, Georgia, the last week. And Rachel's taking some course, so she's, can't make it. So I think it'll be a few more weeks before, they're going to rejoin us again.
Okay.
Well, the good part about Chris is that you can do it online. I mean, here I am
Yeah.
in downtown, not in downtown Boston, but in Boston.
In Boston. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
I'm next to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Normally I don't really like Zoom classes, but this class wouldn't be possible, without
That's
Zoom.
right.
So
I mean, look how
Well,
yeah,
spread
and
out
this is
everyone
so
is.
informal, and there are so few of us. Are they
yeah.
still doing Zoom classes at Ollie?
They are. I don't do them. Yeah, I did some during during COVID. We went
Right,
totally to Zoom for about a year, and it's just very difficult because if you have like a dozen people, all you see are little squares, and it's hard
right.
to know how people are reacting to what you say. It's hard to be interactive with that many people, at the same time. It's just. I remember one class I'll never forget. There was one woman who during the whole thing was eating this big sandwich.
No one told her that's not polite. Not
No,
polite to do that online.
no.
Fred, I'm glad I'm a dinosaur because
Mm,
I'm uncomfortable. You can't read people through
exactly.
Zoom
Yeah,
like
you
you
can't.
can when you're sitting. It's different among, the few of us, but
Yeah,
when you get 10 or 12 people, you just can't read the room or read what's going on or understand what
yeah,
people.
exactly. You might as well make a tape of it and let them look at the
That's
tape. There's no
exactly right.
there's no real interaction going on in
No.
that kind of a class. Well,
But
anyway,
because we've
let's
been doing it together so long, we're comfortable.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, let's do a little bit of study. We missed last Tuesday, and the portion we read last was really an important one. It's a major one. So instead of reading the one that in the week to come, let's read the one that we read on Saturday, last Saturday morning, and that is Deuteronomy chapter 31.
Okay.
And this is really preparing for the death of Moses. This is sort of Moses' last will and testament that we're getting now.
Deuteronomy what?
Deuteronomy chapter 31.
31. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
that is way back there, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, we're getting right toward the end of the
Yeah.
cycle for the
And
for
we're
the
getting
year.
ready to start again.
Start again, right? Yeah. Um, yeah,
Want
yeah.
me to
The
read?
Sure. The first section is the first 8 verses, verses 1 through 8. If you want to read that.
Okay. Moses went and spoke these things to all Israel. He said to them, I am now 120 years old. I can no longer be active. Moreover, the Lord has said to me, you shall not go across yonder Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over before you, and he himself will wipe out those nations from your path, and you shall dispose them. Joshua is the one who shall cross before you, as the Lord has spoken. The Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, kings of the Amorites, and to their countries when he wiped them out. The Lord will deliver them to you, and you shall deal with them in full accordance with the instruction that I have joined upon you. Be strong and resolved. Be not in fear or in dread of them, for the Lord your God marches with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and resolute, for it is you who shall go with these people into the land that the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and it is you who will apportion it to them. And the Lord himself will go before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Fear not and be not dismayed.
Hmm.
So yeah, and so the 120 years is interesting. After that, nobody lives that long. And it's interesting as you go back to the early books of the Bible, the ages keep on decreasing. You remember, if you look at that list of begots, the generations after Adam, you have people living 750 years, 810 years. Methuselah, I think, was, close to 900. And then it gradually decreases. I think Abraham makes it to 140 something, Sarah's 127. And then you're down to Moses, who's 120. And then Joshua lives to 110. But then after that, you don't see any of these great ages anymore. It's like, all these exceptional lifespans stopped with Moses and Joshua. And there's kind of a tradition came out of that 120 is supposedly the ideal age. That if you're really a righteous person, you'll get your full lifespan should be 120 years. And it's common both in Israel and in many Jewish communities here. If you wish somebody a happy birthday, you always add to 120. Because it's like saying many happy returns, it's a type thing. 120 is the ideal age. Although the way things are going, we may be
I
moving
was
toward
just going
that.
to say,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah. I mean, the number of people in our congregation who are in their 90s and doing well,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think 120 is going to be impossible in another
Uh,
generation or two.
I was going to say, yeah, a generation younger than us that's going to be pretty much.
Unless they don't get vaccinated.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what's interesting about these first eight verses?
Hmm.
You just put those in the context of what is repeated in the Torah over and over and over again, in the New Testament over and over again, is that same story. Not the same,
Hmm.
not literally the same story,
Yeah,
the same uh, commandment or the same requirements to,
yeah.
follow my commandments and I'll take care of you.
I'll
And
take
you'll
care of you.
prosper.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Okay. The next part here is really kind of controversial. It's verses 9 through 13, if you want to read those.
Sure. Then Moses wrote this law and gave it to the priests, the sons of Levi who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and of all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them at the end of every 7 years, at the set time in the year of release, at the feast of booths, when all Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God at the place that he will choose, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, men, women, and little ones, and the sojourner within your towns, that they may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God and be careful to do all the words of this law. You want me
Um,
to go ahead and read the next one too?
well, through 13, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. And that their children who have not known it may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land that you are going over the Jordan to possess.
Yeah. Now, the verse 9 says Moses wrote down this teaching. Now, many Orthodox Jews believe that the teaching is the entire Torah. That's why we often call it the first five books, the five books of Moses. There's actually an Orthodox belief that Moses wrote everything, Genesis through the end of Deuteronomy, which again is kind of hard to believe because, when we're going to read about his death, he would have had to be describing his own death if that were true. But Orthodox Jews do believe that. And we don't really know what he wrote down. Because what he says is every seventh year, that's the sabbatical year. And the holiday of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall is coming next week now. you're supposed to read this entire teaching. And it's hard to believe you can't read the whole first 5 books of the Bible in one sitting. I mean, that's a marathon. I mean, even some people think it's the book of Deuteronomy, which is kind of a summary of most of the laws of the Torah. But even the whole book of Deuteronomy, that takes hours to read. So we don't really know if this was ever actually carried out, or not. You know, although we do know, that when after the Babylonian exile, when Ezra the scribe, was one of the leaders of the community, he actually, according to his book in the Bible, he assembled the people and read the entire Torah to them. Again, it would have to be several marathon sessions, but that led to what we're doing now, the idea that the Torah should be read aloud regularly. And so what the rabbis did to make it a practical thing, um, they simply broke it up into portions so that it would be read in a cycle over a year. But it
But
basically, the tradition really starts here with these verses.
one of the things I thought when you read that was, is that just the Ten Commandments, but it's the whole Torah?
Well, that's what we don't really know. I don't believe that Moses wrote the 5 books of Moses. I really don't. I really don't. We just don't know what he wrote down.
Hmm.
If it was something that could really be read at one sitting, every seventh year, on the Feast of Sukkot, it would have to be, couldn't be more than an hour or two long to read it, to be practical. So we
Yeah.
don't really know exactly, what he means by the Hebrew word Torah is used here, the Hebrew text. But it's
Hmm.
really hard to believe that it's the entire Torah we have now, that he wrote down. I mean, even to write a Torah today, takes a trained scribe it's almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
And so again, it's really hard to believe just as physically that Moses wrote an entire Torah scroll. So we really don't know, what this law was or this teaching was that he wrote down. But it is the source for the tradition that we still have that has to be read aloud every year to the congregation, even though it's done in sections rather than all one sitting. Okay, then the next part, which is kind of a little bit depressing, God predicts the future of what's going to happen after Moses, and this is verses 14 through 21. So you want to read that?
You know what? I'd be happy to read it, but I have lost my picture.
Really?
Oh,
Oh,
I don't know where you have all gone, but I can't see you.
well,
Let's
can you
see
you
if
can hear us though?
I can hear you. You want me to read?
Sure, we can hear you, so it's
Okay,
fine.
the
Yeah,
Lord
yeah,
said to
you're,
Moses,
yeah.
how far do you want me to read?
It's 14 through 21.
Okay, the Lord said to Moses, the time is drawing near for you to die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tent of meeting that I may instruct him. Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of meeting. The Lord appeared in the tent in a pillar cloud. The pillar of cloud had come to rest at the entrance of the tent. And the Lord said to Moses, you are soon to lie with your fathers. This people will therefore go astray after alien gods in their midst in the land that they are about to enter. They will forsake me and break my covenant that I made with them. Then my anger will flare up against them, and I will abandon them and hide my countenance from them. They shall be ready prey, and many evils and troubles shall be for them. And they shall say on that day, surely it is because our God is not in our midst that these evils have befallen us. Yet I will keep my covenant hidden on that day because of all the evil they have done in turning to other gods. Therefore, write down this poem and teach it to the people of Israel. Put it in their mouths in order that this poem may be witnessed against the people of Israel. When I bring them into the land flowing with milk and honey that I promised on oath to their fathers, and they eat their fill and grow fat and turn to other gods and serve them, spurning me and breaking my covenant, and many evils and troubles before them. Then the poem shall comfort them as a witness, and since it will never be lost from the mouth of their offspring, for I know what plans they are devising even now before I bring them into the land and promise that I promised on oath.
Kind of depressing. He's saying, I know already that they're going to screw up and go into exile. And it raises a number of questions. The philosophical question that always comes up is there free will? I mean, the fact that God knows the future, does that mean that we don't have free will? And
There you are.
yeah. Oh, are we back?
We
Okay.
never disappeared, Sue.
No, I know
We were
I
here all the
disappeared.
time.
I disappeared.
We were here all the time.
But we saw you, whatever your problem was.
Yeah. Um, no, the question is if God already knows the future, he says, I know what you're going to do. Do the people really have free will? That the rabbis argued a lot about that. And the statement of the Talmud that they arrived at was everything is foreseen, and yet choice is given. In other words, yes, God may know the future, but yes, we also have free will. And of course, the objection to that is, well, that's a paradox. I mean, that both of those statements can't be true, can they? And the rabbi said, yeah, it's a paradox. So what? And basically, we're human beings. We're
Yeah.
creations. We're parts. We can't understand the whole. Creation can never totally understand its creator. And so, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of paradoxes we run into in life, and it's simply because, the limitations of the human mind. We can't see the entire universal picture. It's in contrast really with the Greeks, who really believed that they could not be any paradoxes. Everything could be figured out logically, and there was nothing beyond, the power of the human mind. And, a paradox means that you just hadn't studied it enough. That there couldn't be a contradiction like that.
Oh, that's a Greek idea, but
That's what
that
was,
was quite a bit later than when this was
it
done.
was, yeah. Well, of course, the rabbis who came up with this it's about the same time as the Greeks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were two different ways of looking at the world, really. The rabbis just basically said, there's some things that are just beyond our knowledge, and we
Yeah.
just have to accept them. The fact that God may have foreknowledge of the future, but we still have free will, we still have choice. And even though, it doesn't make sense to us logically, that's the way it is.
And
So
God's
you
always
agree?
there to bail us out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And there's one interesting theory. I read a modern commentary on this, and he said, this may very well have been written by somebody during the Babylonian exile. After the people did screw up and break the covenant and lost the land and went into exile, somebody might have been writing this in retrospect. We don't know when the Bible was written, but we think a lot of it was written during that period of the Babylonian exile and the era shortly following it. And this may very well have been written in retrospect by somebody who's putting this in there, already having gone through the experience,
Mhm.
breaking God's laws of losing the land and going into exile.
The the thing about the breaking up the temple and all of that from that took place over what 50, 60 years, but the first part of it was when they took all the leaders and everything to Babylonia.
Yeah, there was two stages
Yeah,
to the exile. One was I think it was 597 BCE. They took the current king, several members of the royal family, some of the priests, some of the aristocrats. They looted some stuff out of the temple. It was
yeah,
kind of a warning shot.
yeah,
Gave them some hostages they could hold in Babylon, and it was a warning of what was going to happen. And apparently, the king uh, still, in spite of that, tried to make a treaty with Egypt, stop paying tribute to Babylonia. And
Mhm.
so in 586, about 10 or 11 years later, the Babylonians came back. And this time they totally destroyed the city and the temple. And that was the major body of the exile.
But had the society had the society so broken down and so moved astray of the Torah laws
Mhm.
and everything that is in retrospect now viewed as just a real breakdown, and that's why the diaspora all happened, and you know everything took place the way
Jasper.
it did.
Well, well, yeah, the prophet who was there at the time, the guy who was actually a witness to the destruction of Jerusalem was Jeremiah. And
Yeah.
if you read the book of Jeremiah, what you're really struck by is, most of the other prophets are saying, repent and God will forgive you, stop doing all these bad things you're doing, get back on the right road again, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. There's very little of that in Jeremiah. You just get the impression that he's saying the society has already gone past the point of no return. I
Yeah.
know you're not going to repent. I'm, the verdict is already in. I'm just here to read the sentence. That's really what Jeremiah is saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the belief, the impression you get is that a society can go past a certain point of no return.
Yeah.
And basically, where there's no longer a sense of shame.
Hmm.
At least if you have people who are sinning, but they know that they're sinning, they still feel bad about it, even though they're doing it anyway because whatever they're getting out of it. But at least still they have this feeling, I shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong. But then you have people who are beyond that. You're just saying, I don't care. Yeah, I know what to say. I don't care. I'm living the good life. It's working for me. I,
Sure.
they're really past that. There's a famous statement, Jonathan Swift, the 18th century Irish writer, the guy who wrote Gulliver's Travels. He wrote had a famous statement. He says, "As I grow older, I no longer wonder to see men so wicked, and yet I still wonder to see them so little ashamed."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what Jeremiah is, I think, it's really describing a society that has no longer any sense of shame.
Yeah. So,
And then the most striking thing is that after God says that, then if you read the next part, which is verses 22 through 30, you see Moses kind of seconds that.
I'll go
Um,
ahead and read that.
it's 30 through, no, it's 22 through
22 through
30.
30.
Hmm.
Okay, so Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the people of Israel. And the Lord commissioned Joshua the son of Nun and said, "Be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the people of Israel into the land that I swore to give them. I will be with you." When Moses had finished writing the words of this law in the book to the very end, Moses commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, "Take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Behold, not today, while I am yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will surely act corruptly and turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And in these days to come, evil shall befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the work of your hands.
Yeah,
Pretty
it
clear.
is. I mean, yeah, I mean, he really ends his life on a down note. He says, I know
Yeah.
after all this,
After
when
all,
I'm gone, if you're this way when I'm still here with you, what are you going to do, when I'm not here anymore?
with all my
Um,
great leadership and leading you out of
exactly. Yeah.
slavery and all that, you still can't get it.
Yeah. Well, and it also goes back to one of the other basic issues between the Jewish and the Greek ways of looking at life. The Greeks really believed that there was really, in a moral sense, there was no such thing as progress. Human nature doesn't change. People are going to just keep doing the same things. And as you look through history, the only thing that changes is the technology and the
The
costumes
names.
and the names, yeah. But there's no such thing as progress, at least not in the moral sense.
Yeah.
Whereas, both Judaism and Christianity believe that we're moving toward a messianic age. Whether you believe that a Messiah will come or whether you believe that there'll be a messianic age, we believe that there is such thing as moral progress. It may be it's too slow to observe in an individual human life, but over the millennia, we are moving toward a better world. Which again, if you look at history, is a hard thing to believe. But
Mhm.
but that's the basic belief of both Judaism and Christianity, as opposed to the Greeks who basically said, it's what it is, and it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
Because if you look at compare our lives, let's say our great grandfathers, obviously we live longer lives, we live healthier, more comfortable, safer lives, probably more interesting lives. But morally, are we better people than they are? Are we better people than our great grandparents were? Yeah, who knows? A lot of people will make the argument, well, we don't have slavery anymore. A lot of the real evils of the ancient world we've overcome. Nobody would condone slavery anymore. And of course, the Greek answer to that would be, yeah, because we have machines. We don't need slaves anymore. It's not because we're better people and we say, oh, we don't, I wouldn't, slavery is terrible. We're on a higher moral plane. It's just that in a modern factory, slaves aren't very useful. And,
Yeah.
it's because of technology that we don't have slavery anymore, not because we're better morally than people were 300 years ago. And
Well,
it's an ongoing argument.
and we also have more leisure time by far, probably
Oh,
a
by far, yeah.
thousandfold
Hmm.
than even several hundred years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
it's true.
and we don't have the ongoing threats against our safety and lives that existed even 100 years ago.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, you can see the difference if you go down to a place, let's say like Charleston or Savannah or any really old city that goes back to the 18th and 17th centuries and go into one of the churchyards and look at the headstones, the dates on them, and half of them are children.
Yeah,
That was an era, where children died by the thousands, measles, yellow fever, malaria,
sure,
diphtheria, polio, whatnot. And today, the death of a child is really a pretty rare,
that's
shocking
right.
thing.
Yeah,
It's just almost unheard of.
well, our
I'm afraid we
grandparents.
might be going back there.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's hopefully not. Yeah, when
yeah,
people keep getting vaccinated, but yeah, I mean, physically, yeah, we live in a different world than our great grandparents did.
yeah,
The real question is, are we really morally better? Has all this extra physical comfort,
sure.
really made us better people morally?
But the other thing too, Fred, is people had large families, and like I think on both my grandfather's sides,
Mhm.
4 or 5 of them died at very young
Exactly. Yeah.
ages. And my dad always talked about the influenza thing that went through, I guess it was in the 15 or 18,
Yeah.
2015,
19,
2018,
18, and
something like
1918.
19.
that.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
wiped whole communities out.
Oh, yeah. actually more people died in that flu epidemic than died in the First World War.
Oh, really? That's an
Really,
interesting
yeah. I mean,
statistic.
there are more people died in 1919, 1920 of that, what they call the Spanish flu then,
Yeah.
that died from 1914 through 1918, and that entire 4 years of war. It
Hmm.
did kill millions of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it basically, we really do live in a different world. For a baby who's born today, I wouldn't even want to guess what kind of world he'll live in, 20 or 30 years from now, at the
Hmm.
rate that technology is changing,
Sure.
which I think really is one of the things that, in a sense, it creates instability. Like
Hmm.
if somebody born in 1700 lived pretty much like somebody born in 1600. Their
Yes.
lifestyles weren't different. Somebody born in 1800 pretty much lived like somebody born in 1700. If you're born in 1900, you might have a telephone. The telegraph was there. There were steam engines, but otherwise your life was not that much different than somebody
Yeah.
born in
Your life wasn't
1800.
impacted by
Yeah.
that.
If you were born in 2000, you're living in a different world.
Yeah.
I mean, to somebody born in 1900, it would be almost unrecognizable. And for
What's
somebody born 50 years from now, I wouldn't even want to guess what the world would look like, for them.
You think about this? In 2000, we didn't have these, Fred.
Yeah, yeah,
These ruin our lives.
yeah. Well, the technology, yeah, we went, when I wanted to listen to music as a kid, I had 78 vinyl records.
Yeah.
And then we had 33 long play vinyl records, and then we had little 8-track tape things, then the
Yeah.
tape cassettes, and then the CDs. And now the CDs are obsolete. Now, you carry everything around in that phone.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister found one of those little tape recorders, the little portable ones with the
Uh-huh.
microphone that
Yeah.
that we used to send tapes back and forth while I was in the service overseas, and I would sit
Hmm.
there and listen to that little scratchy tape. I mean, you think about that wasn't that long ago. It was
Yeah.
50 years ago, but I mean, that was communication.
Hmm.
We thought it was a big deal.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Greeks would say, well, we're no better than these people Moses was talking to.
You know?
3,000, 4,000, 3,000 years ago, we're really no better with all our technology if you look at it purely in a moral sense. But I still wonder, though, I think a lot for instance, the Romans thought it would be a great entertainment, to go to the Colosseum, spend an afternoon watching people fight to the death, or,
Yeah,
or having convicted prisoners torn to pieces by wild beasts. Where nobody would sanction that kind of thing today. So I think you can make a case, that we have come at least a short way morally
yeah.
over the
I
millennia.
think that when we look at the history of the United States, I think you can say as a society that's even though there's some warts along the way, I think we
Hmm.
definitely have. I mean, compared to whatever step you look back in history, most of us would not have the opportunity to rise above whatever our station in life was that we were born into.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, and then the fact that we take care of people now.
Yeah,
Let's say in 1920, let's say if you were a widow, if your husband had died and you had no children, unless you came from an affluent family, you might very well literally starve to death. I mean,
hmm,
maybe your local church, might give alms to the poor if you were lucky.
yeah,
Yeah, but otherwise, basically, there was nobody to take care of you. People did starve to death if they had no
absolutely.
children, no family to take care of them. And to us, that's totally unacceptable now.
Yeah, that
So I would vote. I think the Jews and Christians had probably are on the right side of this.
Yeah,
It's just it
I
may
think
be
you're
slow, but I
exactly
think we're
right. Yeah.
progressing. Yeah.
I was thinking my grandmother's mother, uh, I guess her husband deserted, and there was the earthquake and fire in San Francisco, and she was a widow and wasn't able to take care of her two children, so she left them at a
Mhm.
Catholic convent. And my grandmother didn't even really know whatever happened to her mother, let alone her
Mhm.
father.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. Actually,
1906.
that's right. Actually, I knew one guy in our congregation. I remember he was a child during the Depression. His father died when he was 12 years old. He left his mother with six children. That was in like 1931 or 32, I think. And
Yeah,
she couldn't feed them. She literally didn't.
yeah,
uh, And actually, she had to put them in an orphanage for several
yeah.
years. And a lot of people did that.
Yep.
And, yeah,
It was very common.
it was the only alternative they had.
Yeah.
Hi, I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday.
Same to
Happy
you.
New Year. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, so I think, that's without being harsh, I think we have moved a long ways.
I think we have to. Yeah. It's well, yeah, I think probably the best statement, Martin Luther King once said, the arc of the moral universe is very long, but it bends toward justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, So, okay, so next week we actually finish up the cycle. We come really to the
Oh,
end,
okay.
to the final reading. So,
Di-
and then the Tuesday after that, we won't have a class, but then the next Tuesday we'll start the cycle again.
Okay. And did you say that it goes on a 3-year cycle or is it a 1-year cycle?
Well, actually, there are two ways of doing it. Um, in fact, there was a big argument between the rabbis in the first and second centuries when this whole tradition started. There was a big argument between the rabbis in Jerusalem and the rabbis in Babylonia. The rabbis in Babylonia believed that the entire portion should be read, at once. The rabbis in Jerusalem said it should be stretched out over 3 years to make the
Wow.
reading
Okay.
shorter. And that's what most synagogues do now. We read 1/3 of the parsha each Sabbath. So every 3 years we get through the entire cycle. I haven't been doing that here. We've been reading the entire parsha,
Yeah.
each week. But as far as the reading of the synagogue, it actually takes 3 years to do the
Okay.
do the whole cycle. So see you guys next week.
Very good. Happy
Thank you,
Okay.
holidays.
Fred.
Yeah.
Okay.